Today on Steelers Talk, we're going to be breaking down the quarterback position for the black and gold this season. Of course, last year you had Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, and this offseason, GM Marcon and Mike Tomlin decided to switch things up here, bringing in Russell Wilson on a one-year, $1.21 million contract and then trading a conditional sixth-round pick for Justin Fields. But the big question is, which quarterback is the better quarterback and which quarterback's going to have more success with the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2024 and potentially beyond that? So today on the show, I'm going to be breaking down their stats from last year, their advanced statistics, and then I'll be going over kind of their scouting reports, what they do well, what they don't do well, and then at the end of today's show, I'm going to tell you which quarterback, there's no question, should be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers heading into the 2024 campaign. But before we get into today's action on Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, help us close the gap and rise up the power rankings here at Chat Sports. The closest channel to us on the power rankings is the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports, who currently have just over 54,000 subscribers. We're at 53,369 right now. And this past weekend, we closed the gap by almost 200 subscribers. So thank you to everybody that clicked that subscribe button. And as always, guys, new viewers out there, okay, we are relying on you to move up the power rankings here at Chat Sports. Most of the people watching this are already subscribed. They're already a part of our family of over 53,000 Yinzers. If you want to join us today and help us move up the ranks and also get free and daily premium Steelers content here on YouTube, make sure you click that subscribe button right now. So let's take a look at the stats here from Russell Wilson and Justin Fields from last year. Fields started 2 fewer games than Russ did. The completion percentage, though, Russ had him beat there. He had more passing yards total, he had more touchdowns, and then he had 1 less interception. But what I really like to look at, guys, is I like to look kind of a layer deeper here, and I like to look at the advanced stats. The quarterback rating last year, Russell Wilson was top 10 in football with a 98.0, whereas Justin Fields was down at 86.3. The touchdown percentage for Russell Wilson was excellent at 5.8. And then the big-time throw percentage is pretty similar there. The turnover-worthy play percentage, relatively similar, even though Russ has Fields beat in both of those categories. And then the overall points above replacement value. So that's both as a passer and as a rusher combined. Russell Wilson was slightly more valuable than Justin Fields last season. So, before we go over kind of their differences and where Fields is better and where Russell Wilson's better, I want to talk about the similarities and the keys to their game that, you're going to get no matter who is on the field for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2024. So first off, you're going to get a strong and talented arm, whether it's Russell Wilson with that patented moon ball or whether it's Justin Fields, who of course has a rocket attached to his shoulder as well. No matter what, you're going to get a very talented and strong arm from whatever quarterback you get. Number 2, both are capable of making big plays. Of course, Russell Wilson has made his living, has made his money, and has been an MVP candidate for a number of seasons, making big plays outside of the pocket. Justin Fields is also somebody that's known for his ability to play out of structure, whether that be as a playmaker with his arm or as a rusher outside of structure. No matter what, you're going to get somebody that can make those kinds of plays outside of structure. And you can see this here with their big-time throw percentages in 2023. Both of them were top 10 in this category. And essentially what this means, big-time throws, is you're putting it in a really tight spot, or if it's really tight coverage or whatever the case may be, or it's a really high level of difficulty on the throw. These guys are 2 of the best in the game when it comes to putting the offense on their back in these tough situations. Then finally, another similarity, and this one's a negative, is that they hold on to the ball for too long. Okay, we know that Justin Fields and Russell Wilson have been the most sacked quarterbacks in football over the past 2 seasons. And you look at the pressure rates for these 2 guys. Russell was at 43.1% of his dropbacks he was pressured on. That was the 6th highest in football. And then Justin Fields last year has always been under duress ever since he entered the league with the Chicago Bears, has never had good protection. He was pressured at a rate of 44.7%, which was top 5 at 4th overall. But you also have to kind of take into account here that they kind of, were part of that problem because they were holding on to the ball for too long. Out of 45 eligible quarterbacks last year, Russell Wilson ranked 43rd in time to throw, and Justin Fields ranked dead last. In fact, nobody was even close to Fields last year at 3.23 seconds time to throw average last year. That is a long time to be holding on to the football, and Fields has been criticized for his ability to not see the field and to hold on to the ball for too long. Now, before I go over the differences here and where Russ is better and where Justin is better, go ahead and tell me right now, down there in the comment section, who do you think is the better quarterback? Type RW if you think Russell Wilson is better, or type JF if you think Justin Fields is the better quarterback. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. And when that happens, take advantage of that time by letting me know who you think is the better quarterback on the Steelers roster. So let's start with Justin Fields here and the ways that I think that he provides more value than Russell Wilson at this point in time. The first way that he provides more value is as a rusher. Okay, we know that Justin Fields is capable of being an absolutely dynamic rusher of the football. Just 2 seasons ago, he was the most valuable rusher in football, not just at the quarterback position, but in the entire league. Last year, his points above replacement as a rusher was lower. He was only 6th among quarterbacks at 10.2, so he took a little bit of a dip in that production, but we know that he still has that 4.3, 4.4 level speed with a really great cutting ability and all these different things. We know he can take a 60-yard run to the house. And Russell Wilson isn't necessarily bad as a rusher. He was 10th overall in rushing points above replacement last year at 5.8, so it's not like Russ can't move. It's not like he's a statue back there, but Justin Fields, no question about it, does bring that value with his legs. Then the other thing that I think Fields would provide an advantage over Russ is that he was better in play action last year. Now, we've talked about how Russ has had success with play action in the past, but last year he actually wasn't all that great in Sean Payton's offense with the way they wanted him to use play action. You look at the yards per attempt last year with play action, Justin Fields ranked 26. That's not great, but 7.9 is not terrible. Russell Wilson was a bit lower at 6.9 yards per attempt while using play action. That was 29th in the game. And then you look at the points above replacement per pass attempt. So that's the overall value per pass attempt when they're doing play action here, and Justin Fields had the higher number there as well. So Fields was more valuable than Russ in play action last year. But I will say this, and kind of a counterpoint here. Russ was in a system there in Denver that didn't really accentuate his strengths. His running backs were constantly hurt. His wide receivers didn't do a great job getting open, and the ones that did, cough, cough, Jerry Jeudy, couldn't catch the football consistently. So Russ was definitely in a tough situation there in Denver, so it doesn't really surprise me that these numbers are lower. And if you remember his days back in Seattle, back when he had legit deep threats like DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, he was one of the best play action passers in football, and it's one of the key areas of his game, or at least it was back when he was a successful quarterback in Seattle. And Arthur Smith, the new offensive coordinator here, is really going to try to accentuate those strengths in Russ's game. Now, speaking of Russ, we're going to be breaking down where he's better than Fields, at least in my opinion here, in just a second. But before we break down Russ's game, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Fanatics, where you can get your very own officially licensed Russell Wilson Steelers jersey in your closet today when you go to chatsports.com/Russ. If you want a brand new Russell Wilson jersey, you've been thinking about getting one, and you want to help out the channel, this is your opportunity to do so, guys, because when you use our link, chatsports.com/Russ, I'll put that in the link in the comments. Put that link in the comments and description of today's show, and you make a purchase after clicking that link, they're going to send some of the proceeds our way. So if you want to support the channel and you want to get a brand new Russell Wilson jersey today, you can get one for a great price right now when you go to chatsports.com/Russ. So I got 5 things that I think Russ brings an advantage over Justin Fields in, and the first one is accuracy. I do think that he is a more accurate quarterback to all levels of the field. You take a look at the on-target percentage last year, and Russell Wilson was one of the most accurate quarterbacks in football. 7th most, 77.1% of his passes were directly on his target, whereas Justin Fields has significantly struggled with accuracy throughout his career, ranking 31st at 71.8%. And, that's just something that I think Russell brings to the table, whether it's short, whether it's a deep ball, whether it's an intermediate pass. I think that Russ has the ability to throw a super tight spiral. You see it at OTAs now with his ability to just get the ball up and down with a super tight spiral. I mean, when you watch the ball come out of these two guys' hands, it definitely looks more catchable out of Russ's hand than it does out of Fields. So I think that's something to take into consideration here when choosing between these two quarterbacks. Number 2 advantage that Russ brings to the table here is that I think he's got a faster mental processor. Now, I do think that mental processing has always been an issue for Justin Fields, even going back to Ohio State. And Russell Wilson has played so much football in the National Football League, he can get through a progression. He can get to his check down. In fact, last year with the Denver Broncos, just to show you how little help he had last year, he had to check the ball down, and over 10% of his passes last year. That was by far and away the highest in the National Football League. Now, some people might look at that number and say, "Oh, Russ stinks. He's just checking it down all the time, and he's not going to open receivers." Well, when you watch the film, Russell Wilson didn't have a lot of wide receivers to throw to that were open. So in that case, in that situation, Russ had no other option than to check the ball down, and that's something that he did a lot, but that also shows that he can get through his progressions and make the proper decision. So that's definitely something that is something that Russ is going to be bringing to the table here that Justin Fields has struggled with in the past. Then another thing that Russ is one of the best in football still, despite having some struggles there in Denver, is he was still very efficient getting the ball in the end zone. And this was the biggest problem with Kenny Pickett and the Steelers offense before, is that he would never throw touchdown passes. But last year, Russell Wilson was top 5 in the game in touchdown pass percentage at 5.8. That shows just how reliable he is in the red zone, how efficient he is in getting the ball in the end zone for his offense. And then Justin Fields, it wasn't terrible, especially when you account for his rushing touchdowns, but just in terms of his passing touchdown percentage, it was 21st in football at 4.3. Then we get to, I think that Russell Wilson's pretty darn good under pressure as well. And we know, we talked about earlier how he was pressured at a top 10 clip last year. He was under pressure a lot. But you look at the numbers, man, Russ actually handled it pretty darn well. He was top 10 in yards per attempt when he was pressured. Justin was 35th in the game. So Fields has never been somebody that really handles pressure well. And then you get to the points above replacement value here per pass attempt. Russell Wilson, it's definitely not top 10. It's 19th. But, remember, he didn't have much help at the wide receiver position. He didn't have much help at the running back position. And Justin was even worse than that, a negative value when pressured last year, 25th overall in the game. And then when we look at who panics and who throws turnovers when pressured, I think Russ just threw 1 last year, or maybe 2, I can't remember, when he was pressured. So that's 7th, and that's top 10. That's pretty decent. And then Justin Fields, 17th isn't abysmal. It's not terrible at 2.1%, but it is lower than Russell Wilson. So I don't think there's any argument that Russ is the better quarterback when faced with pressure. And then the final thing here that I think Russ gives an advantage over Fields is that he's better in the clutch. And one of the big reasons why the Chicago Bears decided to let go of Justin Fields is because of his performance in the fourth quarter. You take a look at his numbers in the fourth quarter last year, 51.1% completion percentage. That is abysmal. That ranks 41st out of 42 eligible quarterbacks. And then you get a 6.6% interception percentage, which was dead last. I mean, this guy makes big-time decision-making blunders in the fourth quarter. And then the passer rating was also ranked 41st in the game at 53.4 in the fourth quarter. So Justin Fields, to this point in his career, has been not only not clutch, he has been anti-clutch. He's been giving the ball away and has been costing his team football games. Whereas Russell Wilson, his resume in the clutch, he's top 10 in all time in fourth quarter comebacks and game-winning drives. He has a winning record in the playoffs. He's been to 2 Super Bowls, and he has won one and he nearly won the other one. So you look at the record and the resume from Russell Wilson. He brings that veteran presence. He brings somebody with playoff experience. So if the Steelers make the playoffs this year, they have somebody with experience that's not going to be afraid of that big moment. And even if Justin Fields can make a significant step forward and he becomes the starting quarterback of the Steelers this year, if the Steelers make the playoffs, because he's so inexperienced in the playoffs, and you look at quarterbacks in their first year in the postseason, they almost never win Super Bowl championships. So if Justin Fields ends up being the starter for the Steelers and they make the playoffs, you can pretty much kiss any chance at a Super Bowl goodbye. However, with Russell Wilson, who has been to that big game, if he hits, this team could absolutely be a Super Bowl contender if the defense plays as well as we think it's going to. If we think the run game's going to be as good as we think it's going to be. I think Russell Wilson is clearly the clear option here for the Pittsburgh Steelers at QB1 heading into the season. I'm not necessarily against going to Fields if Russ stinks or if he falls off a cliff or whatever the case may be. If you're not winning football games, I'm all for making that switch over to Justin. But if you're trying to win a Super Bowl this year, and that's what the Steelers are clearly trying to do heading into this season, Russell Wilson clearly gives you the best chance to do that, and that's why he should be the starting quarterback week 1 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now let me know down there in the comments section, is the Steelers 2025 starting quarterback, so not this upcoming season, the 2025 season, is that starting quarterback for the Steelers currently on the roster, whether that be Russell Wilson or Justin Fields? Let me know down there in the comments section by giving me a yes or no. For more content from me on social media, of course, Steelers OTAs are kicking back into gear today. I'm going to be putting out a bunch of clips and all these different updates from OTAs this week. So if you don't want to miss any of that, you can go to X at Jack_Sperry, or you can check out my Instagram here at sparedog.football. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. Again, new viewers, make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you want more in-depth Steelers analysis every single day here on YouTube and you want to help us move up the power rankings here at Chat Sports, now's your opportunity. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now.